Hello Giants fans, welcome to Giants Baseball 101. I'm Gabe Vaughn, your host. Got a couple of questions this time. Thanks both you for keeping the ball rolling. And they're related. One of them is basically what do the Giants do now? The other is what types of trades do you think they can make? Well, I'm sorry, but the Giants can't do anything because they lost out on Aaron Judge. Their future, at least for 2023, is ruined. And we're going to have to go back to the bad old days of rebuilding. It's going to be just like 2019. That's how we're going to have to go through spring training. Then when the season starts, going to have to be a lousy lineup of hitters that don't get anything done, starting rotation full of pitchers that belong in the minors, and of course all the defensive issues, and it's just going to be a bad team. We're going to have to do one of those rebuild years that doesn't work, and if they do get on a hot streak, you can be sure that however close it brings them into contention, they're going to fall off in the end, just like they did in 2019 and 2020. I hope nobody fell for that. Excuse me. I hope nobody fell for that because we can't have it. It's not acceptable. Got to be a contending year. May have missed out on Aaron Judge. They got to contend or die trying. It's the way it's got to go. No more rebuild years that don't work. It's time for them to find a way somehow to break through starting right now. I hope you can feel it in your bones just like I can. There's got to be no more waiting here. Just got to be no more. I mentioned last week that if it had taken 10 years, $450 million to sign Aaron Judge, the Giants should have done it. Why stop at $450 million? Go $455, $460. Yeah, okay, that'll be my new high. $460 million over 10 years. If that was necessary to sign Judge, I say go do it. That's how important Aaron Judge was to the team. It's a little late now. And not only have the Giants failed to flip Aaron Judge from the Yankees have flipped Carlos Rodon. They have him for the next 5 years. Good news. Good news, though, is the Giants have Carlos Correa at this point, signed him to a 13-year deal. He's been a baseball star, so there's some good news. They also signed Ross Stripling and Sean Manaea, two starting pitchers. I actually have more confidence in Stripling than Manaea, but we're going to have to see still how this plays out. See if Stripling can kind of fill in Rodon's role in the rotation. And as for what trades they can make, they can't be done with adding to their roster. It may not be the trade deadline, but if they can't take full advantage of the free agent market, and I'll just interject here, Michael Conforto is still a free agent. Other teams are showing interest in him. So if the Giants want to get him, they had better spring to action quick. And I mean real quick. The point I'm making is he's still a free agent. He's out there for them. But other than that, yes, they do have to trade. If baseball worked this way, I'd say they trade for Clayton Kershaw, signed a 1-year deal with the Dodgers. We know it doesn't. Dodgers are expected to be contenders. I'm sure for a long time to come. I'm sure that's what we're expecting. They're going to be contenders for first place for a long time to come. They're not going to move Clayton Kershaw anywhere. Giants aren't going to have a shot at getting him in a trade. So you can take that as a joke. So what are some good ideas? Still like the idea of reliever Josh Hader. If the Giants could find a way to pick him up from the Padres, convince the Padres to trade him, that'd be a good thing. He's got 1 year left before he enters free agency. If the Giants could find a way to pick him up, that would be excellent. On the offensive side, was looking at players. Trace Thompson looks like a great fit, I think. He was a good player for the Dodgers last year, I believe. He's also in his final year before free agency. And if they have something to offer the Dodgers that would make them consider, and it's difficult with contending teams like the Dodgers, that they're not going to trade very many productive players. Real difficult spot. Could you imagine the Dodgers trading? Still, he's not one of the Dodgers players like that they sign to a multi-year deal because they're counting on him to be productive for years into the future. As of right now, they don't view him like that. He's not a Mookie Betts in that type of sense. So if there's any chance there that for the right prospect offer, the Giants could pick up Trayce Thompson, that I think it would be a great idea. I'm sorry. And anyone else, we're really looking at OPS numbers that are above 800. Mainly, I would say on the trade market, they should look at whatever players they can find that really post those kind of numbers, have posted an OPS above 800 in 2022. That's the main thing I'm looking for. And then obviously pay attention to the defensive side of things too. But I think they can benefit from acting like this was the trade deadline while not at all compromising a good intention to buy at the trade deadline in July. And then, yeah, you might say, well, 2022 was supposed to be a contending year, and they did it and didn't make it. Well, did they? In July, were they still contending? Trade deadline, yeah, they were supposed to be making an attempt to get Juan Soto, and they might have made a genuine attempt to negotiate for him, didn't land him, didn't really do anything to improve their roster. I can't call that contending. Can you? This year is going to have to be contending all the way through. And it starts here. So these two ideas, Josh Hader, Trayce Thompson, named only a couple. Again, Conforto's on the free agent market. There are guys out there that it would be highly beneficial for them to get. It's not going to be a veteran resurgence again in 2023. It's got to be a new plan this time, but I believe it really is still doable. And one other thing I'm going to mention, just on the lesser level here, talking about a minor league signing that should be a priority for them, in my opinion. I'm not afraid to say this. Mentioned this before. That would be Terrence Gore. He's a free agent, basically pinch runner in MLB. Real lousy at the plate, but he's a speedster on the base path, steals a ton of bases, would rarely ever get caught. He can change a close, likely to be one-run game with his speed. That's what he does. And his name doesn't get mentioned because he's not a good player overall. This one tool, you looked at his wins above replacement value, that would be like microscopically small, but he's a situational player. That's why I want the Giants to sign him to a minor league deal. In fact, if it were necessary to get him onto their team, they should consider offering, I'm not saying this is necessary, I don't believe it is. If it were necessary, they should consider offering Gore a major league contract. That's how relatively valuable I think he would be. You know another reality about him? He's not used off the bench enough, in my opinion. Comes into a few games as a pinch runner, and yes, they are close games when maybe the slowest runners are on base. I don't believe Terrence Gore has been used enough over the course of his career off the bench. He sits on the bench too much when he could be stretching those legs, stretching for bases, stealing, taking the extra base. Might be an unpopular opinion around baseball, I don't know. I believe that he's not being used enough. He should be used way more than he is. That, in my mind, is what adds to a lot of his value. I don't know how many one-run games he could change if he was given the chance, but I believe the Giants are the team that should give him really the next chance. And he's a free agent, and there's reason to think somebody's going to pick him up. Why shouldn't it be the Giants? And he's always been a September call-up, too. And you might say, well, we can think about that in September if they got him on a minor league deal. You know, you're kind of going beyond things, looking at the end of the season. I don't know. He would take up a roster spot if they had him, say, on the opening day roster, or even called him up early in the season. He would take up a roster spot for sure. But you remember the days when teams used to live just fine on 25-man rosters. Now the roster's 26 men. That extra spot, I mean, if teams used to live just fine on 25-man rosters, that extra spot could go to a pinch runner. They survived. If that would be the best way to make use of the 26th spot, well, you see the logic? I believe the Giants should sign Terrence Gore. Not a big signing, something that could help them in the late innings of a ball game. Thank you for watching. This has been Giants Baseball 101. Please subscribe if you have not. I'd be happy to answer any more questions or comments. I'll see you next time.